Well, the basic mindfulness tool for me, or just overall what it means to be mindful, is to be watching your thoughts from a mindful perspective, which is called metacognition. Which means cognition of cognition. And if we can do that mindfully, what we notice, we begin to notice our thoughts, and from that perspective, we separate ourselves from our thoughts. A big mistake that occurs in our culture is we self-identify with our thoughts. Well, those thoughts are me. It's like, no, they're thoughts. They're out here. And then as I am the mindful witness to my thoughts, I'm able to reboot my thoughts if I need to. Reboot my mind. I can turn the thoughts off. Or I can re-steer my mind too. But step one is the metacognition, the noticing of the thoughts. And that's a technique you can just use throughout the day. Just constantly watching your thoughts. And being, one of the things, there's basically two things to look out for when you're watching your thoughts. One of the things is rumination, which is just the mind is just chattering relentlessly. Just keeps going and going. And that's, a lot of us have that problem in this culture because we have so much data coming at us. You know, it's like information overload. And our minds were not designed to be computers. You know, we're supposed to do more than process information, right? I mean, and one thing we do very well is we can analyze things, right? So we have the analytical portion of our mind, but we also have this awareness, stillness portion of our mind. And if we can find balance between the two, that's when the anxiety goes down and the depression goes down. Because if our minds are just ruminating constantly, or most of the time, if there's just this chatter going on in the mind, what happens is our minds get agitated. Because like I said, our minds are not designed to be, computers. And just think of it throughout human history. I mean, we've been walking through the woods and, looking for plants and animals, and we've had a lot of stillness in our minds. So a lot of these techniques we're working on are ways to find stillness again. And we can use these techniques when we notice that we're overthinking, we're engaged in rumination, and we can go into the I am here now, for example, or go into other techniques that we'll be working on, and then find more balance in our minds. Another thing to watch out for with the metacognition is you want to be aware of any kind of negative self-talk. And that's something that's super common in our culture. I think we've been trained in a way to engage in negative self-talk, to feel insecure, so we'll want to go buy things or whatever, and it's just kind of like this messaging that's been driven into our subconscious, since I've been little, at least. But noticing when you're engaging in negative self-talk, and the idea is if you're using mindful metacognition, you just label it. You're looking at it from a scientific perspective. So you notice it, negative self-talk, and that old habit again. You kind of recognize it. Once you get used to the metacognition, you recognize it, and then you can ask yourself, is it serving me right now? And it's probably no, and then if no, you can try and reboot it, try and quiet it down, try and re-steer it. One technique that's really simple is just trying to talk to yourself like you're talking to your best friend, right? And getting in that habit, practicing that. Instead of talking to yourself like you're talking to your worst enemy, which a lot of us do, which I can do that. But one way to shift out of that is just getting in the habit of encouraging self-talk. So I try to encourage myself. I'm consciously taking control of that chatter in my mind. That's one thing nobody really taught me, is you could control what's going on up there. You just don't have to roll with it. Because if we don't notice it and we don't try and change it, guess what? It's not going to change. It's just going to be the same story over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And the same feelings associated with that story, which may be depression or anxiety. So noticing it, talking to yourself like you're talking to your best friend. You got this. That's what I'll say to myself. You got this, brother. You got this, man. You can do this. Or if I make a mistake, I have something that I go through as well, which we'll go through later today. And I guess that's a mindfulness skill that I try and use all the time, really. And it all begins with the metacognition, really. Because if we're unaware of it, we're never going to change it. And the idea is you want to be in charge of your thoughts and your habits rather than your thoughts being in charge of you. So this is a question of sovereignty, of freedom, Am I going to be stuck in the old habits, the old patterns, or am I going to create new habits? So that's, and it's empowering. Once we're able to take charge of that, at least somewhat, once we're able to affect our state of consciousness, our self-talk or our cognition, then we're empowered. And this feeling of empowerment is really key to psychological wellness, psychological health. If I feel disempowered, that's when I have more anxiety. And if I'm disempowered over my own thoughts, that's where it starts. So if I can become empowered over my own thoughts, then that's a huge step forward towards just psychologically feeling better and being more in charge of your destiny and being able to reach your destiny.
To become more involved in the Heart Mind Center, join our community and explore our membership options.
Also, check out our podcast, Mindflow Radio.
Mindflow Radio.